Welcome to Janus Corporation's Citation Review. This week we're going to talk about CalOSHA violations, also known as CalOSHA violations. Remember, to protect your health and safety, you often have to do things in a safer fashion than it was required by the regulations. Why the concern for regulatory compliance? Every issue discussed in today's training is something Janus has been cited for in the past. However, Janus is more concerned with worker health and safety than we are with regulatory compliance. As stated on the previous slide, workers must protect themselves and others in the work area better than regulations require in order to stay healthy, both for short-term and long-term health when working with hazardous materials. Janus's reputation for doing work, not just legally but well, is often the reason clients call us when they have a project involving hazardous construction materials. Every time Janus receives a citation, our reputation is damaged. Clients can be cited for violations committed by Janus workers. It's unlikely we will be called back on the next project if our client is cited because of something we have done. Every time a client calls someone else to conduct their project, that is less work for Janus employees. If we do not have enough work to keep everyone busy, we cannot assure everyone gets full-time hours. This is something each and every employee at Janus has control over and has a responsibility to pay attention to. Violation for failure to calibrate a pump. Pump flow rate calibration is necessary to know how much air the pump is pulled across the filter. That affects the results for the air samples received from the laboratory. Air samples are collected to help assure that the mask you're wearing is sufficient to protect your health and the health of coworkers. If the sample is not collected correctly with a calibrated flow rate and worn by the worker properly while they conduct abatement activities, the sample results are not accurate. Collecting air samples correctly is also required by regulation. Not collecting air samples correctly not only risks your health, but also the risk of the health of everyone else on the project, especially if others are using your air samples to determine if their respirator is the proper level of respirator. Collect air samples with calibrated pumps and wear them properly while working or get cited if OSHA happens to swing by the job. Portable ladders. Selection of ladder versus scaffold. Ladders shall be selected and their use restricted to the purpose for which the ladder is designed. Single rail ladders are not to be used in construction. Those are typically restricted to agricultural use for picking fruit and nuts from trees. Scaffolds or other worker positioning equipment shall be used when work cannot be safely done from ladders. Worker positioning equipment could include boom lifts, JLG lifts, scissor lifts, rolling scaffold, or in-place scaffold. Supervision. Prior to permitting employees to start demolition operations, a qualified person shall make a survey of the structure to determine the condition of the framing, floors, and walls, and the possibility of an unplanned collapse of any portion of the structure. Any adjacent structure where employees may be exposed shall be similarly checked. Demolition of buildings. During demolition, continuing inspections shall be made as the work progresses to detect hazards resulting from weakened or deteriorated floors or walls, or loosened materials. Employees should not be permitted to work where such hazards exist until they are corrected by shoring, bracing, or other effective means. Injury and illness protection program. The employer shall provide access to the program by doing one of the following. A. Whenever an employee or designated representative requests a copy of the program, the employer shall provide the program. B. One printed copy of the program shall be provided free of charge. Truth is, Janus will provide free copies to any employee who requests a copy of the IIPP program. Respiratory protection. Face piece seal protection. The employer shall not permit respirators with tight-fitting face pieces to be worn by employees who have facial hair that comes between the sealing surface of the face piece and the face, or that interferes with valve function. A beard is bad and is not allowed when wearing a respirator. Eye and face protection. Employees working in conjunction where there is a risk of receiving eye injuries, such as punctures, abrasions, contusions, or burns as a result of contact with flying particles, hazardous substances, projections, or injurious light rays which are inherent in the work or environment shall be safeguarded by means of face or eye protection. Suitable screens or shields isolating the hazardous exposure may be considered adequate safeguarding for nearby employees. The employees shall provide and ensure that employees use protection suitable for the exposure. Note, item B says that Janus is required to assure you actually wear the eye protection. So wear eye protection at all times while working so we don't have to yell at you. Contents and posting requirements of the CalOSHA notice. Every employer shall be required to post immediately upon receipt and to keep posted the CalOSHA Notice of Employee Protections and Obligations entitled Safety and Health Protection on the Job. Each employer shall take steps to ensure that such notices are not altered, defaced, or covered by other material. This is too easy to get wrong and too easy to be cited for. Post the job board where people can see it and be sure the posting is from this year. Hand protection. Employers shall select, provide, and require employees to use appropriate hand protection when employees' hands are exposed to hazards such as those from skin absorption or harmful substances, cuts or lacerations, abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, radioactive materials, and harmful temperature extremes. Note, it says Janus is required to assure you actually wear the proper gloves. So if you don't have the proper gloves, ask your supervisor for them. Things to remember about CalOSHA. CalOSHA requires Janus to supply eye and hand protection to each employee. CalOSHA also requires Janus to make sure each employee is wearing the proper eye and hand protection while working. Don't get mad at your supervisor for reminding you to wear your PPE. Be sure ladders allow for the work to be done safely or use scaffolding instead. Air sample pumps must be calibrated properly and worn properly in order to help protect workers. Supervisors must inspect for structural hazards and assure shoring is in place before sending workers into a building. You cannot wear a mask with any hair, beard, mustache, sideburns that comes between the mask and the skin of the face. The CalOSHA Safety and Health poster must be posted on every project where workers can see it. Janus's Injury and Illness Protection Program is required to be available to all employees and is available at your request for free. Thank you for taking training on CalOSHA violations. If you have questions on this training, please contact Mike Sharp at 209-993-6123 or Mike S at januscorp.com. Please proceed to the quiz.